Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rock Talk. This is Russell from Rock Immortal, and I am super excited to bring you guys some good friends of mine, probably the best storytellers that I know. Joining us today, first and foremost, we have Mr. CIP Cipriano of Insipid Productions, owner of Qbar in San Francisco's Castro District, and honestly, one of the best promoters the Bay Area has had in the last 20 years in terms of rock and roll and heavy metal. And we also have the beast behind the drums from Death Angel, Mr. Will Carroll, also beast behind the drums of Cutthroat 9 and Hammers of Misfortune, and Lord knows how many bands. We don't have enough time to list them all, but a lot. So thank you guys for being here. Welcome. First and foremost, how are you guys doing?
You mean post after having the hospital stay and all that?
Yeah.
I'm doing great. I feel better than I did prior to being sick. I'm living a healthier lifestyle and eating healthier, and I'm not drinking for the time being, and that's definitely helped the situation. I've lost weight, and yeah, I'm feeling good. My lungs, surprisingly enough, my lungs didn't really get too affected by it. It's my heart that needs some rebuilding, but that's coming along good, and I'm feeling great.
Awesome. How about you, Sip?
I am feeling great. I was obviously not as sick as Will was. I never had to go to the hospital, so that was good, but it did damn near kick my ass, and we had some really scary times there where my doctors are like, okay, so tonight or tomorrow night, if this gets any worse, we're going to bring you in. So thankfully it did not get worse. But that being said, unlike Will, my lungs were really affected by it. And I am a CrossFit instructor also, and Krav Maga guy, and an instructor over there too at Krav Maga San Francisco. Shout out. And so I've been in fitness forever, and I was, running 5 times a week. I'd run anywhere from 3 to 5 miles a day along the San Francisco waterfront. And post-COVID, it's taken a long time to rebuild that. And while I was sick, I lost 10 pounds of muscle during that. So that's what happens when you don't fucking eat for a week, And now, though, I'm feeling fine. San Francisco was honestly driving me a little bit crazy, just being in a small place. We have a beautiful place there, but it's a much smaller home, as most of the places are in San Francisco. So we came down to our house in Las Vegas, which we've had for about 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. And we're sheltering in Las Vegas so I can be around all my toys and my monsters and my Kiss memorabilia and my records. And we're just going to ride this thing out here because we have a lot more space. And it's like, it's like a summer resort around it. It's great.
So do you feel a noticeable difference when you run now or when you work out or whatever? Like you have a shortness of breath?
Yes, without a doubt. Yes, still to this day. And they said that it would take months to rebuild that. So it kind of surprised me because I was like, okay, cool, the fever's gone. I'm like back to normal. And it was like, I waited a couple weeks, but then 2-3 weeks later or whatever, I decided to go ahead and do one of my 5K runs. And I'd been running a little bit, but I was only doing a half mile at a time. And then I decided I'm just going to push it. And I did. I got to 2.2 miles and I was like, holy shit, I'm going to drop dead. I could not catch my breath. I couldn't breathe. And then as soon as that happens, your body starts going into panic mode at that point. So then that doesn't fucking help anything. So
right.
I'm panicking. And by this point now, I've run completely out of civilization in San Francisco too. So I'm like down by the construction zone where they're building all that shit by the stadium. And I'm like, okay, so here's where they find my corpse. This is a fucking great idea, I have an inhaler now too. That
wow.
Yeah, they gave me so that if I wanted to go ahead and run long distances and be able to catch my breath again and stuff like that. But I've decided, I can keep doing the half miles instead and just put a bunch of them together and catch my breath in between. And it's built up my endurance. I'm back to, lifting again and, doing all of the home workouts and stuff. But yeah, what are your other lingering symptoms that you have?
I don't feel anything but just from what my doctors tell me, my heart took some damage, so I'm taking medication for that just to build my heart back up. But the true test is going to be on Thursday. I get behind the kit for the first time.
Whoa!
Since all since all this happened. So I really can't answer that accurately right now because I haven't played the drums. So we'll see what happens on Thursday when I go to my studio and start whacking on the skins, you know?
Yeah. The recovery time is probably going to be longer than you're used to. Because that's the thing, is that I still, like, when I work out now too, there's still like more muscle aches than I had pre-COVID, because that was one of my first symptoms were the muscle aches. And there's still some phantom muscle aches, and the headaches every now and then I still get,
I get those too a little bit.
Yeah. And I've never been somebody that's had really bad headaches. So it's really annoying to suddenly get these like headaches. And Will and I belong to a survivors group on Facebook that honestly, like, some of the people are like, it's a bit much sometimes, but the thing
Definitely.
is, it's a bit much sometimes, I'm telling you. But that being said, it's some good information, so that it's always, I've never had to be a survivor of anything, I guess, really. So it's like, I never really got the point of a lot of this stuff, but it's nice to know that other people are also being like, why the fuck do I still have headaches? Does anybody else still have headaches? And then you see 2,000 people that are all like, yes, I have headaches that I've never had before. Yes, it's been 2 months and my lungs still aren't back to normal. And it's not just what you hear in the news, and everybody in this group is not over the age of 65 and is not morbidly obese or anything like that. Like, it's a whole range of people. So you get that, and it definitely helps with your mental state during this.
Yeah, you don't feel alone, and
But
other people like you.
It can be a bit much, though.
Definitely, I after I look at a few stories on that site, I need to watch a cartoon or something just to gather the fun.
Totally.
So
and also the God people get to be a bit much, which, like, I mean, I'm sure if they realize who you are now that you're the anti-Satan,
dude,
I can't believe.
I'm getting messages from so many people saying, "I'm glad you've seen the light," and
not since Damian Karras has somebody been so anti-Satan. Okay.
Like Michael Sweet, man. Michael Sweet.
Oh, I love it.
On his Facebook page, and all kinds of Striper fans are messaging me now, man. Like,
the yellow and black attack, they got your back.
Well, you guys actually, like, you both kind of handled this very differently as well, in terms of, Will, you didn't really have much of a choice in terms of how yours was handled. It was very publicized. The media picked up on it, obviously, the entire way through. And then you came out, and I know you've done interview after interview after interview over the last few weeks. And CIP, like, it's kind of interesting to me because, we're pretty close friends. I had no idea, and come to find out, most people didn't. So why was it that you didn't really put it out there?
I'm not the type of person, so I'm really, really, no offense, Will, okay? I'm not angry or anything, but I'm just fucking with about it. I am not the thoughts and prayers guy, okay? I mean, like, I ain't gonna fucking handle shit on my own. I don't give a fuck. Like, whatever, all that energy you're putting into my thoughts and prayers, put into yourself, make your lives better. Whatever happens to me, I'm gonna fucking deal with on my own. So that's fine. Everybody else, your prayer is awesome. Pray for yourselves. I think it's great. It's not my thing. My thing is, like, I'm really into, like, the science behind it, and I read medical things, and I was like, okay, you got to work on your breathing, got to do that. And it was so many breathing exercises. And I had been the lead singer in a band for a million years, so I already knew about breathing exercises, but this was like practicing holding your breath for 30 seconds at a time, and all while you have this fever that just, like, the sweat is just pouring down your face. I mean, and it's nerve-wracking enough, and you're like, okay, is this going to be the time where, I can't hold my breath long enough, and that finally I have to go to the hospital. So, and I had a fever for an entire week. I had like a 102.5 fever for an entire fucking week. And I didn't eat. I ate like, one time in an entire week. And it's it's just terrible. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. So the last thing I wanted to do was, as for the people that don't know, I've been in nightlife in San Francisco since 93. without sounding totally egotistical, somewhat successfully. And, I've owned like 5 different nightclubs, a production company. And I have a lot of friends that like a lot of like associates and friends and business associates. So, and I love them all and they're all amazing, but I knew my body didn't have the capacity for the energy that I would have to spend answering text messages and phone calls. And, my friends are pretty fucking obnoxious. Like they'll come knock on my door if they knew, like they would have just fucking shown up. So Penny Stone would have been just like, my best friend since we were, 15 years old. He would have just knocked on the door if I made an announcement about this and said, I'm fine, don't come by. He would have been there in 10 minutes and then I'd have to deal with him. So I just didn't want to deal with anybody. Like I just wanted to,
The big difference between you and I, though, is I was in a coma, so I couldn't deal with it.
Exactly.
So like when I came out of the coma and they gave me my phone, it was blowing up for like an hour straight. This message. So that was pretty overwhelming.
So what I want to know, was it more than the Grammys or less than the Grammys? When everybody found out you got nominated for a Grammy, was that was that more of a reaction or less of a reaction than COVID?
It was less. I mean, the COVID thing was over the top. Yeah.
People, it's a fucking Grammy.
But, I think everyone knew we weren't going to win. And my coma situation, everyone was like, maybe I'll die.
Yeah. I better send this text message while he's in a coma. Maybe he'll die. See, I didn't want any of that shit. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? If he's dead, he's not going to read his fucking messages anyway. I didn't fucking message you. You and I have been friends for what, 20 years or 15 years? However fucking long we've been friends. Yeah. And I didn't fucking message you. I was like, messaging Mark and LaShawn to make sure that, to see how you were doing and stuff. Last thing I'm going to do is message a guy in a fucking coma. Are you kidding me? I'm pissing them off either. Why? Because I don't want to get wet. Fucking stupid. Russell, we lost you.
Yeah, I can't hear
Audio
you.
On you.
Still can't hear you.
Still can't hear you.
Mic issue. There we go. Think I got it fixed. Sorry about that.
What's Mike doing? You know what else?
Mike is a dick.
And you out there in our studio audience, get your glasses up. So I've been doing virtual fitness classes, and we just finished one. And normally we do a virtual happy hour, and I've been teaching them. And normally we do a virtual happy hour, but I had to not do the happy hour. So all of my virtual fitness people that are out there, raise your glasses. You earned your drink today. Okay, cheers, everyone. I'm just going to keep interrupting you.
No, that's fine. You're good at it. So, Will, one thing I wanted to touch on, and I spoke to you about this briefly earlier. We talk a lot now about the contact tracing thing, and Cip, I want your opinion on contact tracing as well, whether you've done any of it. But one thing that popped up recently was Blabbermouth, which we love them. We love them dearly.
Not
touched
me.
on. They produced this riveting article, and the article basically was Chuck Billy, whom I think we all know, basically made a comment saying, if Will felt like he was sick, then he probably should have told us, and it's not cool that he didn't. Like, did you feel like it was something where maybe you should have said something, or what's your take on that?
Well, it was like the last 2 days of the tour, and I just thought I had like a tour cold or a tour flu or something. It didn't really get serious until the flight home, and when I started breaking out in sweats, I had a terrible fever that I started thinking, oh, I might have the virus. I feel really terrible. So no, it didn't really cross my mind to let people know. But I was taking precautionary steps. Like, I wasn't hanging out after those last couple of shows. I wasn't a part of the after party or hanging out backstage. I was going straight to the bus and going to my bunk and sleeping. I stopped drinking. What were your first symptoms? Kind of like you said, achy muscles and just lack of energy, kind of,
You don't feel like hanging out on a bus drinking when you're like, when the first week of COVID, when you're at their most contagious. You really don't.
Yeah.
Totally. So oddly enough, though, I guess because of my endorphins were kicking in, it didn't affect my performances. I was able to play drums and perform how I normally do, but after the show, I would crash right back down and feel weird. But you know, I've talked to Chuck, and we're cool. I was a little surprised when I saw the article, and I contacted him right away and via text message, and we went back and forth, and everything's cool. I read the full article that chunk was taken from in Blabbermouth. So it was kind of taken out of context. If you read the whole interview...
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, are you saying that Blabbermouth took something out of context?
So, and by the way, just a side note, the headline is, Testament's Chuck Billy, Will Carroll should have said something if he thought he had contracted COVID-19. That's literally the entirety of the headline.
Should have said something.
Yeah. So if you read the whole interview from the original piece, was for some metal zine or something.
Hot metal. Yep.
It didn't come out like bad like the way it did on Blabbermouth. It just sounded like he was slamming me, you know. But like I said, I was surprised when I saw it, and I did contact him, but we're all cool. I love Chuck and I love Tiff, and we always have a lot of fun on tour together, and I look forward to doing more tours with them. And you know, I just fuck Blabbermouth, man.
You know what? So, being somebody who's had articles published that I've written for Blabbermouth, I'm not going to say fuck Blabbermouth, okay?
although you realize if they pick this up, the headline will be Will Carroll says fuck Blabbermouth.
I didn't say that. Okay, I didn't say that.
I mean, like, the thing is, I like Blabbermouth, and the comments, of course, are just like ridiculous at times, you know. But I mean, that's what us metal people do. Like, we talk shit about each other a lot of times, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that I have no doubt that was probably taken out of context.
Yep.
And much like you, I also know and love Chuck and Tiffany both. I think they're amazing people. And I read that article and I was like, this can't be exactly what he means. Like, this had to be exaggerated. But I mean, think about it. You're Blabbermouth, and you have to fill up like all of those spots every day during a pandemic when people aren't doing shit. Okay, like
I was their go-to guy
to write about.
You and Holt were literally I felt like we knew like everything about you by the end of this, just because it was literally every other article was you or Gary.
Yeah.
You guys didn't get this much press when you had a Grammy nomination.
You know, and when I contacted Chuck, like, he had no idea what I was talking about, and I was like, well, did you read Blabbermouth? And he's like, I don't read that site.
He's like, I'm Chuck fucking Billy. Why would I read Blabbermouth?
So, Cip, did you try to do any contract tracing on yours, or does it just not? Like, was it too early? Does it matter?
I'm a New York weirdo. I grew up in New York City. Okay, I live on mass transit. Like, I'm sorry, you know, I just, like, it's what I do. I take buses, I take trains, and when this thing was popping off, I was still living my normal fucking life of jumping on buses and jumping on trains long before they said you had to, like, wear a mask everywhere you go. And for those not in the Bay Area who are listening to this, the San Francisco Muni system sometimes leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to the germ transmissions going on there. So I have no doubt that when I think about it, you know, I mean, really, but then also, I mean, since Will's here, I guess I'll tell him. I mean, I think the Butcher Babies gave it to me.
So
I'm not going there.
Mark's probably starting to text me right now. What the fuck?
So, all right. So
I really think that I got it from one of the trains or the buses that I was on. I take mass transit all the time.
Yeah. And that would make the most sense in San Francisco for sure.
I mean, it really is. So it's like, that's kind of what it was, you know. Thank God I got it when I did, like, weeks after the Kiss concert, so that nobody can really Kiss for it.
That's so funny. Most people I know, that was the last concert they saw was Kiss.
Well, it was the last concert. I mean, it's not the last concert they saw. It was the last concert in history. It was a great concert.
It was fantastic. It was fucking great.
I don't know who was getting COVID great, but
well,
luckily my first symptoms didn't come out until 3 weeks after that concert or something like that. So 2 weeks, two or 3 weeks. So it was like far too long afterwards for to blame it on that concert, And of course, like, why would I blame anything on Kiss? Peter Criss, maybe. I blame it on Peter Criss.
So I feel like this is the best segue ever.
Yes.
Thanks to you,
Stop
Sid.
talking about this. Jesus Christ.
So
hey,
I'm sure we're all tired of talking about COVID. Like I know, Will. I saw you Saturday, and the first thing you said was, "Yeah, I just got off with another interview from like Australia or something."
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean,
you should keep just
gotta
take
be
the
done with
press,
it.
man. Like, I want to see how this translates to Death Angel record sales.
Right?
I really do, and I hope it does, because as I've said many times, and as I have gone on press is saying, you guys are easily the best thrash metal band that is out there. You have the most talented vocalist, period. I mean, your songs are amazing. Like, you guys should be playing massive fucking places, and if it takes you almost dying to do it, I'm sure Rob and Mark are fine with that.
So speaking of Rob and Mark, Will, like, Mark has talked a lot about kind of like his Grammy thing, right? Like where he was when he found out about the nomination. And while that was, quite a few months ago, I feel like every month feels like a week right now, or vice versa.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah. So it doesn't feel like it was.
Time is so irrelevant.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it was nearly as long ago.
Could you imagine if this shit would have popped off earlier and you would have finally been nominated for a Grammy and then there would have been no fucking Grammy?
Holy,
how pissed off would you guys have been? Like, that would have been such bullshit. After all of this fucking time, you're finally getting the recognition you guys deserve, and then I'll be like, oh, by the way, here's a pandemic.
Look, it's either that or Jethro Tull, one of the two.
Yeah,
So
Tull is so metal. They so deserve that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So Will, when you found out about your nomination, because this is something that at least I haven't heard. How did you find out? Like, where were you at, and what was your obvious reaction other than holy crap?
I mean, the whole band. We were on tour when the word got out. Someone texted me. I was in my bunk, and maybe LeSean texted me, or someone texted me and said, I just read you guys have been nominated for a Grammy. I was like, holy shit. And the funny thing is, like, the next week, every night, people were bringing cakes to our show. Congratulatory cakes.
No
we had
way.
multiple cakes on the bus at one point, like 3 or 4 cakes. And none of us really like cake. Like, I that much, So it was pretty funny, and they were really elaborate cakes too, with like the album cover on it, or our logo, and just some really cool looking cakes, But yeah, it was a pretty fun week, getting all the accolades in the press and everything,
Yeah, well, I mean, you're used to that now.
So deserved, so overdue, so deserved, like so deserved, like it really is.
Well, I mean, look, that album was probably the best metal album to come out in the last several years, not just the last year.
Turning, since you joined the band, the albums have gotten better and better. And I mean, I'll say this though: the Dream Calls for Blood is still, in my opinion, one of my top 10 albums of all time. I mean, it's my favorite Death Angel album. Not that the subsequent albums aren't as good, because they're fucking great, but that album just really. Plus, you also have to realize that albums just aren't albums; they're experiences. So you're not only talking about like why this album is important to you, which is I'm sure what we're going to get to when we eventually start talking about Kiss, is that it's not just about the music and stuff, it's also about where you were in your life. So full disclosure, Will's singer, Mark Osageda, is one of my best friends in the world. I have very few best friends. I have 3 people that I can call my best friends in the world, and his singer is one of them. And we were both at a time in our life where we were just kind of going crazy, and he was in New York a lot. I was living part-time in New York, or maybe full-time at that point. And we just spent so much time running around, like Alice Cooper would say, like demented child kings. in New York, and we had a blast. And it's like, I tried to get him to do stuff, and he'd be like, "No, man, I have to write the lyrics for this album." So the whole time he's writing the lyrics for this album, I'm there being just the worst influence to try to get him like, "Come on, just do this." He'd have his little fucking notebook with him sometimes, and even like, "I got to work on these lyrics." I was like, "Come on, let's go do lunch with Rob Dukes. Let's go see Michael Alago, blah, 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 3 martini lunch, and like all this kind of shit. And it was really just one of my favorite times in my life. I mean, I had sold off a bunch of my businesses, and I was just kind of going crazy. It was a little bit of a midlife crisis type thing. And that album came out from that period where we had spent so much time together, and goddamn, that album is just fucking incredible. Caster of Shame is still, I think, one of the best Death Angel songs ever.
Yeah, we're bringing that song back to our set. Like by the end of the tour we just did, or not just did, but our last tour,
yeah,
we started doing that song again. That's also my favorite album of the 4 I've recorded with them.
Do you like it better than the earlier Death Angel albums?
4 of them, I think it's better than 4 of the earlier albums. My favorite album is Act 3.
Really? I think Dream is better than Act 3.
Okay, that's great. I mean, Dream.
I think Mark's voice sounds better on Dream than it does on Act 3.
I'll agree with you on that 100%. Yeah. If you're just talking vocals, his vocals now blow away his vocals on the earlier albums, the first 3 albums.
Without his voice, he's the only singer in thrash whose voice has gotten better through the years.
Yes.
Yes, it's gotten more visceral and just aggressive, yeah.
No, I mean, he has such range and such control, not to mention that he's 10 times of a better frontman now than he was back then, too. Back then, he still looked like a kid, because he was a fucking kid. But now you see him, and he's like, and here's going to come the blabbermouth comments. Now he looks like the heir apparent to Ronnie James Dio. I mean, he is up there just commanding the fucking crowd, and it's just incredible. I mean,
I put him as a
fucking quits. I mean, it really does. It's
he's
amazing.
A top 5 voice in metal now,
yeah.
For sure. Like I don't think there's any doubt in that.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's just I wish some of our idols have kept their voice as well as Mark did.
I agree. I totally agree. And like you said, it's just weird how he's gotten better. That hasn't happened too many times in rock or metal, where a singer is getting to the age of 50 and they're better than they were when they were in their 20s or their teens.
Right.
It's pretty trippy.
It really is.
Right.
I mean, there are some people in massive bands whose voices are not nearly what they were years and years and years ago. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of bands cannot say that, but you guys can, and it's just great. And the fact that you're still turning out incredible albums is just...
I know you're dying to name a name of who's not good anymore.
You can see him like just holding it in.
I'm friends with so many
Mr. Blabbermouth.
Yeah.
I believe your comment, Sip, was that you were going to name names. So
I'm not crashing it. I mean, some of my friends still sound great. Like, Rob sounds fucking amazing. I mean, like, Rob Halford is a dear friend of mine, and he sounds fucking incredible.
Yep.
He really does. He had a period which, he will freely admit that, because of other health issues he was having, his voice took a little downturn. But now, man, you see him now, his voice is strong, and the band is so strong, too. You see Priest now, and it's a force to be reckoned with. So there you go, shit. I just kidding. I get all excited talking about metal. Watch out.
So, all right. So speaking of, metal or rock and roll, there's a band that I think both of you like a little bit, tiny bit. Will, actually, again, when I saw you on Saturday, you had the coolest mask I'd seen. Period.
Oh yeah, a homemade
the
friend
Kiss
of mine
Army.
Give me a Kiss Army mask for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got this on the last tour.
Oh, hell yeah. Beautiful. And I saw them for the first frickin' time because apparently I'm terrible and waited way too long on the show. Dude, shut up. I see your eyes, Sip. That was my first show.
That was your first Kiss show?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was sad that you were on tour. I was like, man, I feel like if there's one person I want to be here for this, it's Will.
I was bummed about that too. My brother got like really good seats too. Yeah, but what are you gonna do?
So with that, what I want to ask you is how did you, like, you know, with all the bands, I always remember the ones I'm really into, when I discovered them, how I discovered them, like, and what really hooked me. And I feel like there's also usually one album that really... There it is. Yes. There's one album that hooked me too. So in terms of Kiss, how did you discover them? And then was there one album or one song that you heard that was just kind of instantly, shit, this is my band?
Kiss Alive 2 was the album, the first thing I was turned on to by them. I looked at the gatefold and was like, "Oh my God, what is this?" Yeah.
Like, it's one of the best things. Like, it is one of the best images in rock history.
Is that yours too, Cip?
Would say no. I'm older than him.
So, yeah, Kiss Alive 2. Like, one of my older siblings had it probably at home, and then they when they put on the side one, the first song, Detroit Rock City. All the bombs going off in the beginning, I was like, "Wow!" I used to judge bands by explosions. I was like, "No explosions."
And then shout it out loud at the end. Whoa! Boom!
Yeah,
and
totally.
Like a massive explosion during shout it out loud.
There is literally no band that's going to win if it's a pyro contest.
Yeah, right.
Like,
So yeah, that was the album, and that was the song, Detroit Rock City, the live version.
And you just knew?
Yeah, and I was so hooked on that album. When I finally heard the studio versions of those songs, I thought they kind of sucked, because the live versions are so faster and bombastic, and just more energy. So, like, when I finally heard Destroyer, I was kind of disappointed. But, I mean, honestly, I love it now. But, you know, yeah, Kiss Alive 2 all the way for me.
What about you, Cip? What was your first?
For me, it was Kiss Destroyer.
Was it?
So my parents were really into music when I was a kid, and like I said, grew up in New York, and they were just like super rock fans and stuff like that. And you know, there was always music playing in our house, so there was always like albums and stuff like that. And they always had their band, so they taught me how to like put on albums at an early age, you know, because like, you know, they're sitting there drinking and hitting the bong and shit, so they want the kid to turn the album over, you know. And you know, they were like super into music, but it was always their music. And then when I was in kindergarten, I trommed the pants off of my kindergarten teacher, who was like, I'm sure she was like, you know, just like an assistant of some kind, you know. And she walked me home from school one day, and you know, was talking about like, you know, her brother's in the band, blah blah blah, and told me about her brother's band, which was Aerosmith. Her brother was Joey Kramer, and told me about Aerosmith, and that, you know, he's a hard rock band. And I was like, oh, so she like brought over like a copy of Toys in the Attic for us or something like that. It's one of those albums. Like, and then you know, my parents gave me allowance for like doing shit, so then I could finally go to a record store and get my own album. And I was like, you know, I had enough money saved up, but what was it, $7 at that point? I was like, I want to go buy my own album. And they're like, well, what do you want to buy? And I was like, I want to buy a rock and roll album. And, you know, I was like 6 years old, and went to the store, and my mom just let me look around the bins of the record store. And sure enough, the first thing I see is the cover of Kiss Destroyer. And I mean, at that point, I was like 6 years old. I loved rock music. I loved Godzilla. I loved monsters. And I mean, this looked like all of it, you know? Like, I mean, this looked like fucking everything. And I'm like, holy shit, you know? Because like, I already knew I liked the harder rock. I was already like more into like the Sabbath and the Zeppelin that my parents were playing, and the Aerosmith record that my babysitter would bring over. So this was like, oh my God, I want this one. And it was Kiss Destroyer, and I put it on, and first song, of course, is Detroit Rock City, and hooked me from the beginning. And I just stared at that album cover. And then at that point, they just like pretty much blew up. So they were on magazines, and they were like all over the place. But keep in mind that back then, you didn't have videos really you could see. So all we had were these magazines. And you look at these magazines, and like you got like 5 pictures of these guys, and you're like, holy shit, these are like the coolest things ever. And it was just, and as a kid back then in the 70s, it was mind blowing. So
Yeah.
after that, I ended up, going through like all of the original albums, and I'm like, these sound slightly different. But then you get into like
Totally.
seriously, like you go from an Ezrin produced that to like, Destroyer to like Dress to Kill, and you're like, this is a different sound, even back then you knew it. But then you get Kiss Alive, and it's just like, holy shit. So I mean, by the time I was 7, I had all of the albums they had put out by then, including like the originals and like the posters on my wall and all of that kind of shit, and the dolls and like everything else that came along with it.
Speaking of Joey Kramer,
Oh,
I just read this book.
I never read it.
The most depressing book you could possibly ever read.
Is it
Oh,
even
my
more
God.
depressing than Peter Criss's book, though?
Yeah, it's more dismal than Peter Criss's book.
Peter Criss's book seriously made me not like Peter Criss. Like,
I do. I mean,
I
they make
have
a lot of
never
sense.
read. I keep in mind, I had met Peter multiple times by that point, and he was always like backstage. He's always like really charming and stuff like that, and he has that like that like New York hospitality and shit, and he's always great. I was like, oh man, he's putting out his book. This is gonna be fucking great, And then you read his book, you're like, this dude's a fucking asshole. I bought this book, like, there's like there's a huge poster of his fucking face on my wall. I'm like, how is this, like, he's right behind me, actually, right there.
Yeah.
How is this fucking guy making me not like him in this book? And by the time I finished the book, I'm like, fuck, Gene and Paul dodged the bullet on that one by getting rid of his ass. Like, Jesus Christ.
how many
I
times
agree.
How many times have you guys seen them live? By the way, just out of
Over
curiosity. Over 100, really?
Over 100, yeah.
I'm not nowhere near close to that, but I've seen them probably like 20 times.
Lord.
Yeah, I was really lucky though. Like at a certain point in my life, they were touring a lot when I owned a lot of businesses, and as like if you get into like the adult collecting world, it allows you to, it opens up you to like be able to like do things and stuff that you could only do when you were a kid. Not to mention that when we were kids, I was running around with certain people that were these massive, well-known Kiss fans, like Dave Snowden and Timmy Purposakis and those guys, and those guys like would be like, okay, well, Kiss is playing, so let's go see them all up and down the East Coast. So, we'd see certain tours like 3 times, 4 times and stuff like that. So I thank those guys for really like, letting me feel like that I was normal, because it's a very abnormal thing to follow bands up and down the East Coast. But if you surround yourself with people that make it normal, then it's great. And then you get older and suddenly the world opens up to you, and you're like, well, fuck it. So like one of my second favorite bands is Aerosmith, and when Kiss and Aerosmith toured together, what fucking year was that? Like 2004 or whatever?
Yeah.
I flew to 9 different cities to see that tour.
Well, that would make sense, right? Like you're
I
getting
flew
two
to
out of
9
that.
different cities, and the farthest away I sat was 3rd row. So it's like when I had the, if you have the resources to do something, then things become within your reach.
Yeah.
And it was
So who is better consistently of all those Aerosmith Kiss shows? Who is better?
This is always, so the thing about it is, back then, when Paul's voice was still Paul's voice, Kiss was always better consistently, because the thing that's amazing about Aerosmith is that Aerosmith can suck one night.
Oh, I know. I've seen him suck.
Yeah, like Aerosmith can suck one night, and then the next night you'll see them, and they are the best band in the world. Like they are like untouchable. And then you'll go see them the next night, and they're terrible. I love bands like that. The nice thing about Kiss is that they're always so consistent. Like there's never like, man, that was a really shitty Kiss show. You know what I mean? It's all consistent. And like now, Paul's voice is not, is not what it used to be. But back then, Paul's voice was on fire. He was like a mark. His voice got better 10 years into his career. I mean,
oh yeah, in the '80s,
oh my God,
some high notes. Yeah.
In the '80s, it was insane. And then he was just like totally, just like like his voice was on fire for the longest time.
He blew his voice out, man. Like
supposedly he had to have like surgery or something, and like nobody ever talks about it, and nobody ever questions him about it. And it's like, it's no big deal, dude. Like the thing is, you wrote songs that were so ridiculous to sing.
Yep.
Like, it's insane, and you did it, and you're a legend. So it's like, I'm not mad at it. Like, I go see Paul Stanley now, and now he's like, it seems like he's been working with a voice coach or something. Some people say he augments his vocals a little bit with shit. I don't know if he does or not. I mean, it sounded pretty, pretty straightforward to me, but even if he does, who cares? He's Paul Stanley. Like, he is a legend. He's untouchable.
Yep. And that's so.
What was your first Kiss show?
Not until Lick It Up, actually.
Mine wasn't until Asylum.
Yeah, really, because it was so hard to get tickets in the 70s. Like, it was really, really hard. And granted, my parents could have tried a little fucking harder. Okay? They could have tried a little fucking harder.
So I want to put something out there first of all to everybody watching. If you guys have questions for Cip or Will, pop them in the Twitch, pop them into Facebook. We'll do our best to get to them. Also, the traditional smash that like button, smash that follow button, do all the things. I hate doing that, but I feel like it's obligatory. So one thing I do want to ask: what is your least? And I'll start with you, Will. Your least favorite Kiss album, and why?
Well, counting the solo albums, and for counting the solo albums, I'd say Peter Criss' solo album. By a huge margin. By a huge margin.
Huge!
But like an actual Kiss, real Kiss album?
Yeah.
I'd have to say...
And remember, it doesn't mean it's not good.
Hot in the Shade.
What?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Oh my god. What about Carnival of Souls?
Yeah, I like that album better, man. I mean, that's definitely the
Really?
But Hot in the Shade is like 55 minutes too long. I mean, that album is so long, dude. There's like 14 songs on it or something.
Hold on.
There's like 4 songs that are solid, and the rest is bullshit. Man. I don't like that album. That and Crazy Nights. That and Crazy Nights is their lowest point.
Oh my god. Crazy Nights is a great album. It's a great album. There are some great songs on there. Paul's voice sounds amazing. And they were what they were. They were a pop band at that point, and they were... they figured out a way to try to survive in that kind of environment, and it was fucking great. Like, if they would have put out Creatures at that point, nobody would have gave a shit. Again. Yet again, Creatures would have been rejected. Let's put a different cover on it. Wouldn't that be amazing if they would end up doing like 5 different covers of Creatures in the same music?
Oh yeah, they had the non-makeup cover with...
they had the non-makeup cover, and still nobody cared about that album. That fucking album. Like, that's such a great album. But I have to say though, like, when I tried to go back and listen to it again just last week, and I really, because I don't want to be that person to state the obvious, hold on one second, there's a very important thing here. No, I'll take a lemon in my drink, thank you. And I don't want to be the person to be like, this is their worst Kiss album. But I mean, honestly, The Elder, I just can't. Like, I just think it's terrible. Talk about an album that's too long. Like, it's just, and the whole Morbius thing and the stupid. Just stupid. Stop. Just fucking stop. Like, Ace's track is like one of the only redeemable things on that album.
Oh, The Oath is a badass song too, man. The Oath is killer. I like that album.
One of the best things about...
That's definitely in my lower part of my list, too.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's such a bad fucking album. And then what do you think about their more recent albums?
Ooh.
I like Monster. I thought Monster had some fucking great songs, good production, great guitar sound. I didn't care too much for Sonic Boom. It had a couple of good songs.
I just got a bootleg version of Sonic Boom on vinyl, because... I don't know if you know, but Sonic Boom on vinyl is going for like $400 or something obnoxious like that.
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, it's like the only album that they must not own the rights to or something like that. And so because of that, you can't find it. They haven't reprinted it or anything, so it's just the original ones. needless to say, they didn't do a big run of Sonic Boom albums that were like available only at, what was it? Like, it was only available at like Target or Walgreens anyway.
Yeah, something like that, totally.
Yeah. So because of that, now like the original versions of that are going for like hundreds of dollars, and on eBay you can get some great colored vinyl bootleg versions of Sonic Boom that are $20, $30, and the sound quality is fucking perfect because I love those songs. I really do. I think those songs are great. I think Never Enough is the best recent Paul Stanley vocal that we've had. I think Never Enough is just like it's back to those heights. It's amazing.
I'll have to listen to it again.
Yeah.
So how do you know it's a bootleg? It doesn't have the actual label on the back, or like,
I think it even might. I mean, I think it's like totally like a pirated version though, because I know for a fact that they're not allowed to put it out. So bootleggers. I mean, I'm like super geeky about this shit. So I know that like bootleggers have taken over like with because there's a hole in the market, and that's what they did. You know.
Right. So speaking of bad Kiss albums, what do you think of Unmasked?
I like it actually. I still like Unmasked.
I like a couple of songs. All the A songs are solid, and the Gene songs are good. But dude, like Easy As It Seems, no way, man. I can't go there. I can't do it. When you hear the bongos in the beginning, like no.
I mean, you know, it's like, but it was the perfect lead-in to get us ready for The Elder, wasn't it?
I know that was some dark times.
It's like if your girlfriend. It's like if your girlfriend doesn't fuck you on your birthday, you know that you're going to get broken up with. But she doesn't want to break up with you on your birthday. Instead, she just doesn't fuck you on your birthday. So instead, it's like, then that way when she breaks up with you the day after your birthday, you knew it was coming. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it was always hard to be a Kiss fan. There'd always be some assholes going, Kiss sucks, and glam rock, whatever. But when they put out the 1-2 punch of Unmasked and then The Elder, that was really like hard times to be a Kiss fan. I was like, what are you doing to me, man? Like, come on.
I'm like, come on, guys, what the fuck? And the worst part about The Elder, though, is that it has Ezrin producing it. That's the thing. I mean, it's, you know, it's Ezrin. Like, he's produced, you know, 2 of my favorite albums of all time, of my top 10 albums. I mean, Nightmare is still one of my favorite albums of all time.
I love that album too.
Yep.
It's fucking amazing. And I mean, just to have him involved with this record, Jesus Christ, Ezrin, what are you thinking?
So I want to.
I mean, he even talks about that album like he was.
Oh yeah, he was like high as shit and everything.
Shit, and his ego was skyrocketing because of the Wall.
Yeah.
Like, so he thought he could turn Kiss into another Pink Floyd, like make a mega classic concept album, you know.
And all he needed was Gene Simmons, like, you know, just like, you know, like stroking Gene's ego and be like, you know, you can write this amazing concept and blah blah blah. It's just like, oh my god.
And Paul Stanley's book is pretty funny. And when he talks about The Elder, he's like, Gene came up with this half-baked concept. Like, he still doesn't know what the story is fully about or what the ending means. You know?
Cheers! Cheers!
Cheers!
Cheers!
So, Will, let's talk about that massive wall behind you. If anybody doesn't know,
my records and some of my Kiss stuff on top, and a bunch of my rock and roll books, heavy metal books on the bottom. But yeah, like I have a lot of Kiss shit like CIP does, and I just don't have enough room to put it up everywhere. You know. So,
how many vinyls do you have?
Kiss stuff.
How many vinyls do you have overall? Do you have a count?
You know, when we moved like a year and a half ago into a bigger place, and I finally did count my records. And since then, I've bought quite a few, but I would say I have probably like 1,400, 1,500.
What is the biggest to get that you've been able to get your hands on? What's the favorite piece of your collection in terms of your vinyl collection?
It's hard to think of one thing, but I'm pretty happy with my Judas Priest collection, and I'm working on that. Like I want to get every bootleg that's ever been made by Priest. So. I just got one in the mail today. Let's see.
Ooh, let's see. I love things in the mail.
This one's called Somewhere Under the Rainbow, live at the Rainbow Theater in Denver in 1980.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a straight from the soundboard. It's killer. It's got Steeler. Hearing a live version of Steeler, that fucking rules, man. So yeah, I would say I'm the proudest of my Priest collection for sure.
Is there like a holy grail that you're looking for that you still haven't been able to track down?
Sip and I were talking about that last week. There is a bootleg that I saw on. I almost said blabbermouth. I saw on eBay only once, and I got outbid right away. Like someone like sharpshooted me and got it. But it's Judas Priest's first show in America in 1977 on the Sin After Sin tour, opening for Led Zeppelin at a Day on the Green at the Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, wow.
And I saw it once. I read about it in a bootleg site, and I saw it once on eBay like maybe 15 years ago, and I've never seen it since. But that's what I would love to have. I would love to get that record.
So if anybody wants to, Amazon wish list Will, keep an eye out for that. Yeah. That's how you're gonna better than cakes because he's had enough cake. Yeah.
Hey, you know what question you haven't asked yet though? When we were on the Kiss topic was, what's our favorite Kiss album?
Well,
I'll start with you, Sip. What's your favorite Destroyer?
I'll just sit back here and relax.
Honestly, though, like I really do think it's still Destroyer because I love Ezrin's production on it. Like I love that overproduced shit. I think it's amazing. I love the dramaticness of it. Great Expectations. Creepy as fuck now. Creepy as fuck. We got to admit it. That nowadays, we can fully be. We'll never get to hear that, live, But Sweet Pain is a fucking incredible.
I love that song.
Flaming Youth, a song that you're never going to get to hear live. I mean, totally. Speaking of like bootleg stuff, I have a bootleg from the Destroyer tour that they remember on the Destroyer tour they were actually playing Flaming Youth live. Yeah. And they never quite got it right.
Totally. I've heard a live version of it.
That's the best thing about those 76 bootlegs is that they were so famous and they had to play these massive fucking places and suddenly they had to play this difficult fucking album. No wonder Rock and Roll Over sounds the way it does compared to Destroyer because they had to suddenly they were thrust into playing these massive places and they're difficult. Those Destroyer songs are difficult as shit to play. And you can hear when they attempt to play stuff like Flaming Youth the first time, they're like, ooh, like that Roosevelt show, I think it is. Roosevelt Station. Yeah, I mean, that is some rough shit right there. I mean, it really is. But I love my Destroyer bootlegs. Those are like my favorite bootlegs that I have is from this. And
not only are the songs more difficult, but they're also dealing with a stage that was constantly in transition, like the actual stage set. Like they were using a broken down city, and then the next show it was gone, and all kinds of shit. Every night the stage was changing. They couldn't figure out what was working,
Yeah, there was it was supposed to be like the big lightning bolts, and then sometimes
by the logo, yeah,
and like the cars and like all this shit. Like what the fuck? And you see some pictures every now and then. I'll still see a picture I've never seen before.
Holy!
Somebody took, and you're like, where in the fuck is this? Like, how did this happen? And why is there no video of this fucking tour?
Yeah, I would love to see a full video of the actual beginning of the Destroyer tour with all the shit on stage.
Everything on stage. And it probably was blowing the fucking power left and right. And I'm sure that, they just didn't have the capability of pulling off what they were trying to pull off at that point.
Yep.
Because remember, Gene was trying to do the whole electricity thing, from the Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And that never fucking worked. And then it was supposed to be the city in ruins, but I guess some places didn't have space for the city.
Yeah.
It's such a.
And they were trying to do an actual car crash on stage.
Yeah, they were trying to do a fucking car crash on stage, and that never fucking happened. And
oh my God.
Sometimes you saw those cool crystals coming out of the ground. Sometimes
totally. What the hell is that?
Great. Sometimes Gene got to have his whole castle thing. Sometimes didn't. It's the most inconsistent thing ever.
Totally.
And it really is of all the things that I wish Kiss would put out, is that I really wish they would put out a full actual video from the Destroyer tour, because that's pretty much the only thing we haven't had. I mean, thanks to the Qbar Hall videos, we get to see them at their peak. I mean, those videos are insane. I mean, you get to see Peter Criss playing like nobody's fucking business, just nailing it. I mean, just like nailing it. And Paul with the audience is in the palm of his fucking hand, and here they are when they're still like dirty and leather and grimy, and it's fucking badass. But, you know, then the next really good video we get is the fucking Osaka show from '77, where none of the stage set is there.
Yeah, right.
Like, nothing is there. Like, absolutely nothing. And then you jump to Houston '77, you know, like later in '77 with the whole Love Gun show, which was great. And then we realized that the Love Gun show never really looked like the Love Gun, the Live 2 album cover.
Totally.
Yep. Yeah.
So my favorite Kiss album is "Lick It Up."
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I think that like "Creatures of the Night" and "Lick It Up" is my favorite era of Kiss. Like just the total metal albums, you know.
I mean,
so is it the heaviness? Is it the songs, the production, like
all the above? Eric Carr on drums.
Vinny's writing, as crazy as that motherfucker is.
Yeah,
he could write some wicked riffs.
Vinny could fucking write. It's such a shame that, you know, they are the way they are right now. I'm using like, you know, they as a pronoun because I assume that, you know, they're going through some kind of a transition based on the way that they look now.
Yeah,
and that's fine, and I totally respect that, and I just wish they would come out and be like, hey, you know what? I'm gender non-binary, because there's a ton of great people that are gender binary. So there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that it would be great if they embraced it. Or maybe they would just come out and say, you know what, I'm trans, you know, I identify as a woman now. Totally fine too. Just like let us know where we're at with this, Vinny. You know, like it would be great. And stop fucking flaking on your shit. Like, you know, get your talent back. I mean, he was a very talented person at one time. And all the times that I had met him, he was always super fucking nice too. So God knows what the fuck happened in the interim.
And even when he does show up to his events, he doesn't even play guitar barely. Like he just plays rhythm. Like he doesn't shred at all or do any type of like fantastic soloing. Like it's just like what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
So no one's seen him play in quite a while, like to do really good stuff.
Well, how long was it that he was kind of a recluse, that he kind of disappeared from the public eye?
Oh, like 20-something years or 20 years.
Yeah, like a long ass time.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, this behind me. So you see the Vincent poster behind me, because I have So a little background. So David Snowden, who I mentioned earlier, was a really good friend of mine, and he was the one who started the Vinnie Vincent fan club, and then he actually made a whole business and has had a very successful career of doing fan clubs and relate that into other things too. So congrats, David. You know, wishing you all the best, you and your wife. But this was back when this was still run out of like a room in his parents' house, and he was running the Vinnie Vincent fan club. And I think it was in like the fucking basement or something like that. And he convinced me and Kenny Stone to come to his house, and we stuffed Vinnie Vincent fan club envelopes. So if any of you motherfuckers out there are part of the Vinnie Vincent fan club, I licked those envelopes, okay? I folded those fucking papers. I licked those fucking envelopes, and David would give us like all this stuff, and then when Vinny would come to town and the band would come to town, they were super nice to us and shit. But we used to do all of that grunt work that you're like, oh, I wonder how this fan club package got put together so nicely. Because we fucking did it! We were over David Snowden's house doing this shit. And eventually I got some cool shit out of it. One of the things I got is this is one of Vinny's stage outfits, which I just fucking love. I mean, it's like, look at how tiny that is. I should like put it on just so you can see.
It looks like a child's outfit. Like it legit looks like a kid's jacket.
Yeah, I mean, he was so fucking skinny though. Like that's the thing. I mean, he's not, you know, what he is now. You know, I mean, like he was so like frail and skinny back then. And like, yeah, so that's like one of the Vinny stage outfits that I got, which I think is fun.
So we're getting up close to Q&A time. So again, if you guys want to put questions in, now's the time. And Facebook, on Twitch, pop them down. We'll get to as many as we can. There are two other things.
My favorite items.
Huh?
I want to talk about my favorite items.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna get to. There are two more things I want to get to. One of which is your items in general. Those behind you, the massive wall of amazing. Somebody commented on the Mob Squad figure you have back there.
The Mob Rules.
Mob Rules. Thank you.
So that's,
Mod Squad.
Yeah, I said mob. I got the mob part right, Will.
So Ronnie James Dio was a dear friend of mine, and the first person that really kind of adopted me in the music business and stuff like that. So, and like told me that anything was possible and junk like that. So it was really cool. It was a huge influence on me. I've got to know him really well, and I was a huge Dio collector for the longest time. And whenever I would find shit, and he would just roll his eyes and be like, "Where in the fuck did you find this?" So I have all sorts of amazing pieces from Ronnie, and this is a Mob Rules stand-up, and I went, and it took a while. I went through and got it autographed by everybody. So it has Tony's signature, it has Ronnie's signature. You know what I mean? It has like everybody that played on the Mob Rules album. I got them to autograph it. So there's all the signatures there and everything. And I love that fucking album. That and Heaven and Hell are fucking amazing. You know. Right. This is my favorite piece in my collection. That one right there is the first promo poster that Kiss ever put out. They sent it out to radio stations, and it's autographed. I got it autographed by Paul when I saw him at Hammerjacks, and I waited probably 12 hours outside of a hotel to get him to come out.
On his first solo tour?
That was on his first solo tour that I got it signed. Yeah. Started that thing around me forever, but that poster is just a fucking amazing piece to have, and there aren't many of those around anymore. Let's see, behind me right here is one of Gene Simmons' blood towels. I bastardized one of those like things that people put fucking baseballs in to show off baseballs, and now it like shows off Gene Simmons' blood towel in it, and that was given to me by one of my best friends in the world, Nikki Black, the DJ from 1077 The Bone for years on end, and internet personality herself, and she had it handed to her by Gene when he got off stage at the Concord Pavilion, and she held onto it and gave it to me for my 40th birthday, which was amazing. So thank you, Nikki Black, love you. And then let's see, right here, one of my closest friends went to almost damn near the South Pole at the edge of the world, like at fucking like the bottom of Chile, and there was a little bazaar there, people doing arts and crafts, and somebody fucking made this Kiss thing that like it's like this crazy ass piece. I'll see if I can pull it off without fucking ruining anything.
Oh.
Look at this shit, though. So when you hold it up to a light in the dark, you're supposed to put a light behind it. And the thing that makes it amazing, I mean, lots of people make fucking Kiss art. This is literally at the southernmost part of the world. Okay? Like at the where they're selling like blankets and like, fucking shit that like people like do and like non-civilization shit. And what do they have? They have something from fucking Kiss. How amazing is that? Okay? Like how fucking amazing is that? Like so cool. So it's like, yeah, you know what? People can make fun of us for being Kiss fans, but that shit is fucking everywhere. Okay?
Oh, I always say that to Ted on tour. Like, no matter where we go, no matter where we are, there'll be something from Kiss somewhere on the wall. Somewhere. And I'll just turn to him and go, Kiss is everywhere, dude. And he gets so annoyed. He gets so annoyed.
Everywhere. Fucking everywhere. And then let's see. Right here used to be a magazine in Baltimore called Rocks Magazine that I was a staff writer for a while. And because of my friendship with Ronnie, I got to do this super long interview, and they gave me the cover story. So that's that. It's signed to me from Ronnie, and it's really special. The whole interview is an amazing interview. I have no idea where you'll ever be able to find that. I don't know if they're on an online presence or not, but Rocks Magazine, and it's from the late 80s, early 90s in the Baltimore music scene, and it was awesome. And then
ROXX or ROC?
I noticed I had to look. ROX. And then right up here, all the way up there, is a framed tour shirt from '75 that I just won in an auction because I'm one of those auction motherfuckers. Like I have a few auction houses I totally like go to all the time. The same one that Kirk uses, I use too, and I love my fucking auctions, and I'm aggressive as shit when it comes to bidding. And I saw that shirt, and thankfully it was in the middle of a movie it was a movie and music memorabilia thing. So there was a lot of like Madonna and Prince and Sinatra, and then like Judy Garland and all this shit. And I swear to God, like only like one other Kiss fan might have known about this, and I did not say. I belong to like 10 million fucking Kiss groups on Facebook. I didn't say shit to anybody. When this thing was out there, I said shit to no one. I'm like, none of you motherfuckers are going to find out about this. And sure enough, man, I swooped in and got it like that. And I got it for an embarrassingly low amount of money. Like, yeah. And it's an original tour shirt from '75. And I paid less than $100.
Oh.
So is it a Dress to Kill tour shirt or a Kiss Alive tour shirt?
It's a Kiss Alive tour.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's from '75. It's from the Kiss Alive tour, and
cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think I won it for $50 or something like that.
Whoa,
like,
really?
Yeah, like
wow.
Nobody bid against me. Like nobody bid against me, and I'm sure like I'm not even saying which auction house I went to because fuck you guys, you can figure it out.
Also, I'll be asking you later.
Not competitive.
So I wanna circle back.
Hold on 1 second.
All right,
look,
go ahead.
Look, the other thing is right here. You see this?
No, your head's in the way.
I got a fucking Kiss Creatures tour shirt.
Nice.
Which like those things. So Russell probably doesn't know, but the Creatures tour had these grand ambitions of being a very big long tour, and the Creatures album tanked so hard. The whole tour got cut short. So finding any kind of Creatures memorabilia is so fucking hard to find, and it's so expensive.
My brother has an awesome jersey from the Creatures show.
No way.
Yeah, killer jersey, white with black sleeves.
Amazing.
So
Absolutely amazing. So so I got that right now. I'll send you a picture of it later because it's fucking great. And I mean, of course, like I buy these shirts knowing full well. I'm never gonna fucking wear them, But every now and then, I still put them on anyway. Yeah. And
so,
then,
Will, I want to circle.
The other thing is, boom! All 4 solo album posters framed and autographed to me, and that was a 22-year endeavor.
Wow.
I mean, you're nothing if not invested, and we know that. Like, your collections are ridiculously complete most of the time.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's totally. Oh shit! Hold on, one more thing.
I have that right up here.
but unlike yours, did the lead singer from Death Angel give you yours on your birthday?
No, but my mom did when I was like 7 years old.
I don't know. I think Mom beats Mark. I love Mark, but.
Your singer gave me that to me on my birthday one year. So thank you, Mark. Love you.
So I want to circle back to Death Angel real quick because I have another question about Death Angel.
Yay!
I think most of us know, if you're not from the Bay Area, Slim's is one of the most historic venues in the Bay Area and a great place for metal. Death Angel has, for the last several years, done their Christmas shows at Slim's as kind of a traditional thing. And Slim's closed during the COVID crisis, COVID pandemic.
During my coma, I had no idea when I came to and I found Slim's and I was bummed, man.
Did you? Were you like, am I alive? Are we sure? Is it a nightmare? Like,
right.
Slim's closed. Donald Trump is president.
So have you guys? I don't know if it's too early, and especially now with the pandemic going on, we don't know when live shows are going to start up again anyway. But have you guys given thought to the Christmas show in terms of where it would be if you do it this year, or?
They were talking about maybe moving it anyways from Slim's, and possibly doing one night at the Fillmore. So
wow.
I don't know how far we've gone along with that, but. I heard talks about that at one point, but now who knows what's going to happen this Christmas?
I've heard talks about that too.
I'm sure
So
Sip has.
that would be the logical place to do it. Would be the
Absolutely.
Fillmore. Yeah, so I'm hoping that's
You
what happens.
almost died. You could do it at the Warfield now.
With all the press going on, we need to move it up.
Seriously, all the press. Fuck, come on. Have a relapse and do it at the Oakland Arena, okay?
We have a Chase Center now. We can just do it there. It'll be great.
Totally. So, I mean, like, I don't even know if there is going to be a Christmas show or shows this year because of the situation, So
This is like we're living in the 70s. Like, literally, they canceled Christmas, okay? It's like a year without a Santa Claus. Okay?
Yeah, it really is.
Totally.
It's a year without a Santa Claus.
All right. So I want to get over to our Q&A because we have a few questions from people that have been watching. I love the first question here, which is from Ezekiel Hewitt on Facebook, who says, "How are you guys so awesome?" That's my question.
Aw, thank you, Ezekiel.
Is there an answer to that?
Yes, there is. There is. There's totally an answer to that. It's because we actually love what we're doing with our lives. And that is the thing. And that's what made us both fight super hard to keep our lives. Because, let me tell you, I mean, I was homeless when I was a kid. I went through this whole period of being fucking homeless. And I had, I was fed a shit sandwich. And I knew that, I worked myself up. Will worked himself up. And you're laying there and you're like, is this thing going to fucking kill me? But then you think about how awesome your life is because you're surrounded by amazing people and you do amazing things. And it inspires you. So, Ezekiel, wherever you are, I hope that you're doing exactly what you love. And if you're not doing what you love, then I hope that you're taking the steps to get there because that really makes all the difference in the world. You only have one life, man. Live it to the fullest.
I couldn't say it better myself. Yeah.
Damn, that was actually really, really touching. Johan Blanc says, and Will, Johan, I'll say there are so many places you can read this, but it's up to Will. He asks if you will explain your outer body experience in the hospital again.
Okay. I'll do it really briefly. I'll try to at least. In the midst of my coma, I had a dream or a vision or a hallucination, whatever you want to call it. But I felt myself rise from my body, and I was floating. I had the sensation of floating, and I shot down into a dark hole. And I was in a dark, cavernous place that I perceived as hell. And there was people moaning in agony in the distance, and it was a very unfriendly place, I guess. And there was a woman sitting in a throne, like a rock throne, and she had red skin and glowing eyes and fangs and horns, and I just perceived her to be Satan, and she was laughing at me. And I couldn't move because I was this obese blob kind of creature. I originally said Jabba the Hutt, but it was more like the creature at the end of Weird Science. When Chet gets and I was throwing up blood, and I was puking up blood until I had a heart attack, which is kind of weird because I had heart failure during my coma. And then once I died in hell, I shot up to the sky, and I was in a place that seemed to be heaven. It was all golden and white, like a Roman kind of palace. But there was a giant orgy going on, and it was just really.
Sounds
it wasn't pleasant either, man. I didn't want to be there. It was like a giant flesh column.
I feel like Sip's been here.
Dude, that's what my quarantine's been like.
And the angels were really, really scary too. They were just really fierce, and they were almost demonic in appearance as well. Anyways, I was up there for a short amount of time, what it seemed like a short amount of time. And I shot back down to Earth, and I ended up at a nightclub with some friends, and we were in Stockton or Fresno. So I went back to hell. And then I woke up and I was in the hospital bed. So that's it in a nutshell. And the first thing I asked the nurse when I woke up, I wasn't sure if it was reality or not. There was a nurse standing right there, and I was shocked to be in a hospital bed. I didn't remember going to the hospital. I don't remember like the last 3 days leading up to going to the hospital when I was at home with Lishan. I don't remember any of those days. I was just so sick so delirious with fever. So when I woke up in the hospital bed, I was really shocked, and there was, tubes coming in and out of me and machines all around me. And there was a nurse right there, and I asked her, "Am I still in hell?" And she ignored me. She totally ignored me. Yeah.
So this.
There you go.
Just to follow up on that real fast. When you were prior to those 3 days, were you like? Did you make any arrangements or anything like that? Did you realize how bad you were getting?
I did. Right when I got home from the airport, Lishan was like, "Oh, you don't look so good. Like, you look terrible." So I was staying in bed, and I was doing all the things you could possibly do at home, like to try to fight a flu. But yeah, after like 5 days, I was having trouble breathing. I could barely breathe. And I don't remember any of that. And she knew it was time to take me to the emergency room. So, and apparently I was texting people from the ICU and calling people, but I don't remember any of that. It's all news to me,
Wow.
Well, you
like when I had my worst days, the days where my doctors are like, "Okay, so if this gets any worse, you're coming in, and we'll see how the nighttime goes." Like those were like the times where I before I went to bed that night, I pulled out all my stuff for my husband, and I was like, "Okay, so here's my shit. Like, if we need to go to the hospital, this is this." I put some stuff on my computer for people to find in the event that things went really bad for me.
Yep.
And
Right.
I just kind of making those preparations where okay, this shit is really getting fucking heavy, and this is intense as shit. So I left some things on my computer for people to find, and then my insurance card and all this kinds of stuff, and then said a few words to my husband, and then went and did the worst 2 days of my life, basically.
Well,
It was scary, huh?
that was one of those.
Honestly, man, fucking terrifying. I grew up watching horror movies, and nothing was as scary as that.
It was definitely with all the stuff you guys were going through, being on the outside of this, right? CIP, we didn't know when you were ill. Will, we didn't know. We were sitting here at the house going we don't know if we're going to see Will again. And honestly, we've had friends sick, and we've had friends ill, and we deal with friends with cancer and all those things. But all of this was kind of in the infancy of our understanding of what COVID really was. So when
imagine having it, we didn't know what
and that was the thing. We're sitting there trying to understand.
Terrifying. I mean, because you just didn't know.
Yeah.
And the symptoms that I had and the reactions that I had at that point, the CDC didn't recognize as official symptoms of COVID. Keep in mind, I have videos where I can't even hold a bottle of Tylenol because my hands are shaking so bad.
Yeah.
And the shaking was so extreme, and that wasn't a symptom until after I'm recovered, and then all of a sudden the CDC puts out this whole new list of fucking symptoms, and you're like, "Oh, well, thanks, asshole. Could have used you a couple weeks ago." Because on top of that, thinking, okay, so you have COVID, but now you're okay, so now I'm having a stroke. I'm having what the fuck is this?
Yep.
Yeah, I also had the shakes really bad, even when I got home from the hospital.
Yeah, the shakes are insane. It was the craziest thing. Between that and the fucking sweating, I would have to change the sheets 5 times a night, and that was before the really bad nights. Yep. And then after that, it was well, I'm just gonna die in my sweat,
All right, so on to happier notes. One thing I do want to mention, and Will, I haven't gotten to tell you this yet, and I think you'll kind of get a giggle out of this. So during all this, we were on the outside hoping for hope, right? While you were ill, and I'd get updates every once in a while, from Mike or Lishan. And one of the beautiful things that happened while you were in your coma, I don't even know if Mike's told you this. Apparently, while you were in your coma, they got a call from the doctor one day for an update, and you were drumming with your hands.
Oh, yeah.
Did they tell you about that?
Yeah, I did hear that. I did hear that. Yeah.
That was honestly, like, being on the outside. That was the greatest thing to hear in the world, because we'd been sitting here like we just don't know. And the update that I got was, hey, things are looking better, but still not in the clear. Also, apparently in his coma, he was sitting there hand drumming, and it was the coolest thing. It was like, Will's still there.
Yeah. Like LeSean told me that, but also one of the nurses at the hospital said, yeah, like you were tapping away, like, so. I guess it was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so great segue. Will, this is for you from Tone Deaf 420 on Twitch. Top 3 current drummers.
Oh,
current drummers.
Current drummers.
Man, I don't even know if I can name 3 current drummers.
Oh my God! Ow.
No, I just listen to old music all the time, but definitely Gene Hoglan is the first one I think of. Carlos from Warbringer.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah,
fucking awesome. And Ash from Revocation. Those are the first 3 that come to mind.
Nice.
Those guys are fucking awesome. And Ash took drum lessons from Gene Hoglan, so of course you're going to be awesome. So yeah, those are the first 3 that come to mind. But there's tons of amazing drummers out there. Like there's like 5-year-olds that are better than me now. You know, like you get fucking videos of like a 5-year-old playing Hot for Teacher. It's like, man, fuck you.
All right, so here's a good one for both of you, from some guy named Jimmy Arsenault on Facebook. He is asking for your thoughts on Hotter Than Hell.
How to what?
Thoughts on Hotter Than Hell.
Oh, the album. Oh, fucking
the
awesome.
album's amazing. The album's amazing. The production shit.
I think the production, it is shit, but it adds to the charm of the album. Like the album cover is kind of weird too, you know. So it's a weird production, weird album cover.
Great
Hotter Than Hell.
Great songs.
Totally.
Like the writing was so good at that point. They were so concise about churning out these basically pop songs. Like they really were, and they don't get enough recognition for being writers of catchy, hooky stuff. And that always bothers me about Kiss, is that, you know, the whole Rolling Stone contingent never gives them the props that they deserve. And all of those early albums, there's a reason why they still play so many of those songs live, is because they're like these simple, infectious things that just like stick into your head. They're fucking great.
Yeah, I love that album. And like they use like weird techniques to record it. They recorded it with the tape running too fast or too slow. I forget which one it was. So when you play it at normal speed, it sounds like everything's drawn out. Like the cymbals go, like everything is kind of like almost in slow motion. Like it has like an underwater kind of feel. Like you're like, so it's really, really weird sounding album. I like it though. I dig it.
Would you call it experimental?
Yeah. That album's played on the Death Angel bus quite a bit between Mark and Rob. That's one of their favorites. They play that album a lot. So
It's a great album.
Yeah, killer album.
So I'm going to get to 2 more here. Bethodus McKinnon, whom most of us know, says, I have a bottle of Kiss cologne never used. Who wants it?
Yes!
There you go.
That guy, okay.
I won that auction.
That guy. Yeah.
Well, that answers that question real quick.
I don't wear the Kiss cologne, and I don't drink the Kiss wine. I might have them, okay, but like no. There's I have to draw a line somewhere.
You're not going to get buried in the Kiss coffin like Dime? You're not going to get buried in the Kiss coffin like Dime?
You know, no. I don't think I'm much of a big buried guy, you know? I think I'd rather just kind of like, you know, get burnt up and spread around in inconvenient places.
They should make a Kiss urn. I mean, I can't believe they haven't made a Kiss urn.
I'm sure it exists somewhere. I'm sure it's licensed somewhere to some place. All right, and the last question I think is a great question, and it's for both of you, and it's from Ken Hodel on Facebook. and he's asking what you guys' thoughts are and how we can make live music work in a club-sized environment again. So, kind of how we will.
Wow.
And then I do have one more note before we wrap after that. But I feel like that's a really, really good question.
Go ahead. Sip runs clubs. He knows more than I do. Go ahead.
And I think that it's a very complicated question, and we have to see how the American public wants to deal with it and how much inconvenience they're willing to go through. Like, are they willing to go ahead and do temperature checks? Are they willing to have like separate areas and stuff like that? Like, what are we willing to do? Is everybody willing to wear masks at clubs? And I think that I'm fortunate being in nightlife in California because we're definitely going to be one of the last places to open. So we're going to see how everybody else does it first, and then we're going to follow suit. But it's going to be a long ways away. I mean, we're going to have to deal with limited capacity, and people are also going to have to realize that tickets are probably going to get more expensive too, because we have limited capacity. People still have these bills that they have to pay. Yep. So, they still have to have this bus, they still have that, and this, that, and the other thing. So things are going to be more expensive than they were before. And that goes for everything. That goes for your corner bar. The days of going into the Mission Bar and getting your $2 shots of, whiskey, going to Doc's Clock and getting your $5 whiskey special might not be the thing anymore, because doing $5 whiskey specials might not be enough to be able to pay your rent when you're dealing with a limited capacity and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that in neighborhoods like the Castro and in neighborhoods like the Mission, you're going to see that change. And then when it comes to the live music, it's going to be extrapolating that on a larger scale. So then you're going to have to figure out, okay, so are we going to have like only selling every other seat? Or are we only going to sell blocks of seats and then have the ticket bot put a space in between them? In which case, at that point, then you are severely limiting the capacity of a venue. And then that means that has to reflect, so that has to come down to, will the artist then play for a discounted rate? Will they cut their fees, or will they just choose to say, fuck it? Legacy artists might just decide at this point that they're good. They've had a run of 30, 40, 50 years, and they're done. So that might not be a thing anymore for legacy artists. This might be, last year might be the last time we've ever seen the Rolling Stones play. It might be the last time we've ever seen Madonna play. We've ever seen, all of these people play. We have to face that reality. These people aren't getting any younger. They're not going to put their lives at risk for this, and they shouldn't. They've given us, like, all of these legacy artists, whether you like them or not, whether you want to go ahead and see Hotel California in its fucking entirety or not, doesn't matter. The fact is that these people have positively affected pop culture, and they earn their right to say, fuck it, I'm out. And just stay home and count their fucking money rather than playing for half their money. So then it comes down to new artists. And this could be a good thing for developing new artists, because then you're going to get new artists playing, and they're not going to be able to play big places anyway. So it's going to be a much smaller crowd. I can't see us going back to this whole thing where we fill up a stadium and there's 80,000 people singing Paradise City.
Well, on that note, during the entertainment summit here in San Francisco, there was actually a mention that this could also be kind of I think the term used was a renaissance. In a situation where smaller bands, younger bands, will be able to play places like the Fillmore again, because they're going to be these places need to get bands in to fill, and at the same time these bands will come in for less money, which will offset that loss by having to social distance everyone. So that kind of feeds into exactly what you're saying is that concept.
Live music is going to be the trickiest thing. I mean, it really is. It's going to be that, and sports are going to be the two hardest things to do.
Yeah.
You're going to see a ton of virtual concerts. You're going to see a ton of virtual this, virtual that. But live music, and people are going to be more willing to go out to bars and like that, smaller places. But when you're talking about putting 40,000 people in somewhere,
right?
That's going to get crazy.
Yeah, the sports I think are in that same boat for sure, and it's going to be definitely weird to kind of see whether they do crowdless sporting events, or how they manage that, quite frankly, with the money losses that they'd be taking and doing that in general.
Yeah, but Major League Baseball is talking about doing having some games without any spectators, just playing the games in empty stadiums. You know, it's a trip.
It's kind of cool, honestly. There's a part of it that I feel would be really unique and kind of a sign of the times that we're in.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, no, unless you're like, you know, the players and you're used to hearing that crowd roar and stuff like that.
Well, like home field advantage is gone.
There's probably going to be a lot more fights in sports because you can hear the other team talking shit now because there's
You're gonna be watching a football game and you hear this guy go, "Motherfucker, get out of my way!"
Yeah.
There's just so much to think about, like with all of the things involved, and you know, we need to learn more about it before we can really make a full assessment of everything too. You know, I'm glad that my live music career with the Pound was at the time that it was because I was able to have these awesome shows, and you know, it's not going to be like that anymore. And Slim's, same thing, man. They got out while the getting was good right now. I mean, they were going to close anyway, so this is a perfect time for them to go ahead and get out.
Yeah.
I really didn't enjoy those Christmas shows.
You tell me over and over again.
And I will continue to keep telling people, like,
so there is.
You are not missing anything. It is way too packed. Okay, it is way.
It was. It's going to be in a bigger venue now. Let's. Where
there's not poles in front of your fucking face. Okay. I love Slims too. Like, I totally love Slims. For the Death Angel shows, it was just you guys outgrew it. Like, it was great the first year. It was the second year, but then you guys kind of outgrew it. Let's be honest.
I mean, the most recent year for sure.
Right here, okay?
It was the most recent year.
Not going to be pretty.
Last year was absolutely just there was no breathing room in there for sure.
Right.
Okay.
Now in the days of COVID, like, can you imagine?
Oh no.
That's gross to think about.
Yeah.
It's just fucking disgusting. Like, you guys would be like the vector of all vectors, you know?
All right, so we've got
wipe out the metal scene.
We've got one last question here, and I think it's a good wrap. It's from somebody named Nikki Black. So and it came up when we I think diverted to Kiss, I think the third time, and it said,
Russell froze. I'm going to take over this interview now.
What?
So tell me, what was your favorite part about Kiss Meets the Family?
So, don't make me mute you.
Black Ace.
Oh my God, Black Ace is the most amazing thing ever. Like, Black Ace is literally the most amazing thing ever. The fact that they couldn't find a white actor who had athletic ability is the most amazing thing ever. And that they had to put an African-American actor, an acrobat, in Ace's makeup is fucking amazing. And that's why, you know, I love Tommy. I think Tommy's doing a great job of it. But how great would it have been if then instead of putting Tommy Theron, suddenly they got the original Black Ace from Dude, everybody that's flipping out about Tommy wearing Ace's makeup would be like, dude, Black Ace, you're right. It would be like the best day in Eric Thomas's life, okay? Like, seriously, like, you would have, like, dude, like, literally every African American in heavy metal would think it was just the fucking coolest thing ever. I mean, like, dude, they got Black Ace. It's fucking amazing. Everybody knows who he is. It would be fucking great. It would be so great. But instead, they put Tommy there. And, you know, it is what it is.
All right.
But how great would that be?
All right. So here's the question. Here's the question. Apparently, I'm supposed to ask you about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction.
Which that
from Nikki. I'm supposed to ask you about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction since you were there. That quick story, and that'd be a good time to end.
It was absolutely amazing. It was incredible to see. It was Nikki and I went together actually for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, so we got to get inducted, and it was incredible. It was just it felt like a culmination of all of us, as you mentioned earlier, Will, of the people that had to face Kiss sucks, fuck you, Kiss blah blah blah, like this, and you're like, imagine being a gay Kiss fan, okay? dude, kiss her fags. I fucking wish. Are you fucking kidding me? But instead, not only did I have to grow up gay, I had to grow up a metalhead too. So there's like, oh my God, like what the fuck? And then you have like all these people that are like, man, this sucks, and all these bands, like people forget nowadays that when you were growing up in the 70s and 80s, there were people that were actively against what you liked. Like you would wear a band shirt and that would be a reason to get into a fight. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, it was fucking amazing, That's why everybody's like, you're such an abrasive homosexual. Well, I fucking grew up a fucking heavy metal fan, okay? A gay heavy metal fan. Like, you said
in New York.
Fag, you called me a fag, or you said the word kiss sucks, you were getting your fucking ass kicked. So, back to Nikki's question. So the whole thing is that finally getting to see them get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and get invited to the table, regardless of what Paul says or Gene says about how they were treated and everything like that. We didn't get to see that in the stands where we were at. And all we saw was that they finally got a seat at the table and they finally got recognized. Because I grew up reading Rolling Stone magazine. I mean, I might not have agreed with everything. I also reading Circus magazine and Rip magazine and All in Cream magazine. I put up money to make sure the Cream magazine movie got made. Like the movie got made. Like so, I think that magazines and this whole thing was like a really huge part of our culture, especially being rock fans and metal fans. So to get recognized like that by these people who actively, like while this band was the biggest fucking band in the world, these people were like doing whatever they could to make sure that they weren't being recognized as such.
Totally.
And they still succeeded, and that's why they needed an army to make sure that their word got out, and that's what we are. I mean, we were the Kiss Army. So I was proudly representing the Kiss Army at that point. And I loved it. I mean, I really wish that they could have gotten their shit together and they could have. We've all been in bands, okay? And you just don't like everybody in your band. I'm not going to ask Will, like, which one he likes best or which one he likes least. I'll spare you that. But come on, like. I know. But you just don't like everybody in your band. That's part of being in a band, but you still go ahead and you do it. You just fucking do it. And you do it for the people that like your music. So the fact that they couldn't put all of this shit in the past behind them and actually just fucking do it, it still disappoints me. Because how great would it have been if they could have just got up, the four of them together, these four guys that were just nothing when they met and became this thing that changed so many of our lives. And if they could have just put their fucking differences aside, but then you read their books and you're like, yeah, these guys are so far from that fucking point at this point, like they're so far gone from that.
Yep.
And you have to respect that because we did that, know. So does Paul Stanley think the world revolves around Paul Stanley? Of course he does. Why? Because we've spent the last 50 years telling Paul Stanley that the world revolves around Paul fucking Stanley.
All right, so I'm going to do one more here.
I can sit there and talk forever about like how his behavior was on this time or that time that I met him or this time or that time. But you know what? When I'm talking about it, I'm going to be under a photo of him right now talking about it. Okay? Like, seriously, he's going to be on my chest. You think Paul Stanley is wearing a fucking CIP shirt? Hell no!
You don't know that. First of all, you don't know that. You don't know. He might.
A Death Angel shirt? Hell no!
You don't know that!
Not at all! He's Paul fucking Stanley and we're not. So yes, being at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction was absolutely amazing. I wouldn't have traded it for the world. I wish it would have ended up differently, but you can't make your idols who you want them to be.
Yep.
Sometimes your idols just have to be these mythic creatures, and if you don't want to break the myth, then fucking stay away.
Think about who you're talking to, Sip.
Will, you and I have all had people that we don't like in this business, okay? And, I'm allowed to say who I don't like. You're probably not even allowed to say who you don't like, because God knows you might be playing Hellfest with them next year.
Yeah.
But you all had to do that. So if you really don't want to be disappointed by your idols, listen to your albums. Just don't go backstage. They all have their shit that they have to deal with. They have their fucking, they have their lives. They have their wives. Their wives like fucking the gardener while they're on tour, and like all of this shit is going on in their world. So, All
right. So one more question. We're gonna end this on Will. And there we go. Okay. So, Will, what is your favorite type of venue to play? This is like a softball too, which is great. It's great to end on a softball. Favorite type of venue in terms of whether it be open air, or like a hall, or what do you prefer in front of you? And I'll add to that and say, if you really had to think about it, what is the best gig or your favorite gig that you've ever played?
Whoa. I love playing outdoor venues. I love playing outdoors. It just makes me feel like the 70s for some reason. Like when they used to have big Day on the Greens and big outdoor rock festivals. It just has a total festive environment, and just the outside vibe is really fun. When the sun is setting and you're still on stage, that's pretty magical. It just feels great. So I like playing outdoors. And to switch gears, I also like playing little punk rock shitholes too, like really small places that are packed. He's like, no way.
He's like, fuck you, I have to hang out there.
But trust, they want to get paid the same money they get paid when they play the big, huge. From the promoter's point of view, this is the assholes I deal with all the time. It's like suddenly like, oh, but we want that inside.
It sounds like such a booker.
But here's our fucking town. They want to get paid the same amount of money. They shove a bunch of people in there, and they're like, could you turn up the AC? It's really hot in here.
Yeah. Speaking of the pound. I'm bummed I never got a chance to play the outdoor stage. That was a cool meta.
That was amazing. That really was. That was like a dream come true, being able to make that stage happen. And honestly, for all of his shortcomings, my ex-business partner, that was a lot of his doing was me. I mean, granted, I did all the booking for it, so I was the one that got the band that could actually play it. But he was the one that looked at an empty parking lot and was like, we can make this a venue. Give me my robe, And like the next thing you know, like shit happened, and he did it. And that was the genius of Tony Karachi, was that he would do the craziest shit, and you'd just be like, what in the fuck is happening here? And that was, he encapsulates what was the wild ride of the Pound, was that here I was dealing with all of the entire heavy metal world, booking all of these shows and getting all of these bands, and the kids knew, the kids kept coming out nonstop. I mean, thank God, if any of our little kids are listening who are now adults now, I'm so glad that we were part of your youth. They still send me the most amazing messages, and they still tell me how much the Pound changed their youth and positively affected their youth. And that's, as a operator, that's kind of what you're going for. You're always trying to, I mean, granted, there are a bunch of assholes in this business who just want to make fucking money, but fuck them. I'm not talking about them. So you always are just trying to elevate the experience of people and try to change how well that, they're, especially at an all ages venue, how well their childhood is. Because I know when I was a kid and I was going to shows, it was amazing. I would go see shows at all different venues, and it changed your life seeing these bands, and you got to see these bands up close. And it was incredible. And there were venues that, in New York, venues in Baltimore where, they treated the people like shit. The Pound guys were fucking amazing. I had a great security team. Eric Thomas, Joey Castro, shout outs to you guys.
Yeah.
Mikey Matthews, all of those guys, great people. And they really knew how to deal with kids. And they were those kids. And I was those kids. And here I was getting to live the dream of getting to book this venue nonstop and dealing with all these asshole agents. And I love shouting at people, and I love shouting in general. I just love all of it. So I got to do that side too. So it was like a dream come true. and you get to do this, and you get to have this amazing effect on people, which was great.
Well, I mean, Cip.
To answer that last question, though, my favorite show I ever played was probably when Death Angel played the Warfield opening for Anthrax and Testament.
One of
yes.
the best shows I've ever seen from you guys.
Yeah, I thank you. I mean, I've grown up going to the Warfield. Like, I saw Guns N' Roses open for the Cult there, and that show changed my life, and just lots of great memories there. And it's my favorite venue in the city, you know. So just being able to, it's not an easy place to get a gig at either, you know. So playing there was like a huge accomplishment for my musical career. So I love that show. I love playing there, and I hope to play there again. Like, that was definitely something I'll never forget.
Well, thankfully, now that you've had COVID, you'll absolutely get to play there again.
Yeah.
Like, now it's just like,
we'll just sell it out. It's fine.
Yeah, you're like a COVID Kardashian at this point.
Oh, I'm getting that shirt made for him. All right. I wanna get us wrapped up here. Cip, I want to make one point on what you were talking about in terms of kind of creating experiences, because we've all been that kid. Like,
Yes.
I appreciate both you guys starting Rock Immortal. That's been my goal, is because I've been that guy, and I want to create as you have created for years and years, and will as you create on stage for everybody else. So that's what we're trying to do with Rock Immortal, and you guys have been nothing but supportive of me, and I really appreciate that.
Here, man.
I want to get this wrapped up so these guys can go on and get some relaxation. Cip can go drink more. Will can hang out with the lovely Lee Sean. But I want to thank everybody for being here.
I have lovely people to hang out with too.
Yes, you do. Cip can go hang out with the lovely Spencer and the lovely Ocon.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everybody for showing up. It's been an amazing night. There have been some amazing stories. This has been something super special. So thank everybody for being here, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.